ready? It's the Roundtable with me, Robert Bannon.
Well, welcome to the Roundtable, everybody. My name is Robert Bannon. You're listening to us on Broadway World over here on the Broadway Podcast Network, and it is June. It is our busiest month of the entire year because Tribeca Film Festival rolls into New York City. And when I started this show during COVID, I never could imagine that we would be able to cover the amazing work that is at Tribeca Film Festival, New York's most famous film festival. And then I heard that there was a film that was premiering on the Intrepid. And as someone who has lived in New Jersey for 41 years, why have I never been to the Intrepid? And why is this film, without me even seeing the whole thing, got me in tears thinking about the generation that we're going to talk about, especially in this polarizing political time? I think this film is something that we need more than ever. Why We Dream is what we're talking about, coming to Tribeca. And I'm really excited that the filmmaker, how did she go from making art for Beyonce to making a film about? I want to know all the things about Meredith Danluck. Meredith Danluck is here to tell us all about it. Meredith, welcome to the show.
Why, thank you, Robert. I'm happy to be here.
You really did do art for Beyonce?
I really did. This was a lifetime high for sure. Yeah.
Because, I read your bio and I was like, yep, filmmaker, fun, great. I'm impressed. Really great, really beautiful. Beyonce?
That tends to be the one that people remember. Yeah, I worked on the Run tour for background visuals.
I loved it. And if you remember it had the most beautiful projection and all of those Bonnie and Clyde videos. I was there, Meredith. See, I knew you were my people.
Okay, great. Yeah, that was definitely an exciting time to go to experience that tour and to work with Beyonce, who's a top professional, like amazing person. So I have only good things to say.
Well, how does all of your journey, like you are now a feature, this is a feature. This is not a short, this is a feature documentary that is premiering at Tribeca on the Intrepid, honoring all those soldiers, honoring the story that you're telling. Do you look, when you heard, like, how does this happen? You submit this film, how did it end up being this event that's going to happen here?
Well, yeah, we really honed in on Tribeca because of it's such a great festival, being in New York, the best audiences in the world, and also because it's taking place on D-Day. So that just felt like this really natural fit for the film. And that's basically how that part of it happened. How it wound up being on the Intrepid, I think we have to credit that to Drake Springer, who works at Delta, who they were the studio and producers on the film. And Drake just has a lot of creative ideas. So that was that.
Well, it's amazing. And people, you can still get tickets. They are available at Tribeca. Maybe they're gone by now, but you can go to tribecafilm.com and that's where you can get all the information about the film. And then we're going to talk about the film. The film has you have a pretty big production film, a group with you. You have a pretty famous composer that's on your film. You may be the most famous composer ever. When did you come up with this idea? And how many years have you worked on it, Meredith?
I was just telling someone the other day, for a film to go from inception to premiere in less than 2 years is like radically fast. And I think that as soon as we started, there was an urgency to this, given the age of the veterans, the timing of D-Day. We hit the ground running, and then the story itself and the flow of the narrative had its own kind of DNA. It was very, very clear how things were connected to each other and how the edit was coming together. So less than 2 years to make this, which is, sounds like a long time for working on pretty much anything else, but for films, that's radically
fast. So what I know about the film, which is that it's 80 years ago is D-Day. And that means that a lot of these soldiers have either passed away or 100 years old. So how did you find the people that you have involved in this film? What was the process like to put it together?
So we had a list of veterans that would be returning to D-Day. Every year, Delta flies a charter plane for the veterans who are returning to Normandy. And that was kind of the beginning of the story. That was the inspiration for the story. It was like, oh my gosh, like, why would you want to go back to a place of so much trauma? Why, and so from there, we got a list of all the veterans that would be returning and started doing Zoom calls with them and whittling down this list of, I think, 50 some odd veterans to an approachable handful that we could feature in the film. And it really wound up being almost like a casting process of different voices that had different points of view and also had different experiences in the war. We have a veteran who was born in Vienna and then exiled once Hitler came to power, made his way to the United States at the age of 15, graduated high school, and enlisted to go back and fight. And he has a quote in the film, "I was fighting two wars, one for American democracy and one for my relatives," because at that point his relatives had mostly, been killed. So, there's that. We have an African-American soldier who was in the segregated laundry unit. We have a woman who was a nurse. So there's so many different points of view and so many stories. You think that World War II has been exhausted as a story, as a film, books, everything. And yet there are still so many stories to be told. And that was really our goal in casting.
Wow. It is absolutely amazing. Why We Dream, everybody, is what we're talking about. And Meredith Danluck is here to tell us all about it. Coming to Tribeca, chosen out of thousands and thousands of films to get a premiere here at Tribeca. And more important than ever, I'm sure that you must have learned a lot by spending time with these amazing veterans and flying with them and going back to this place, and hearing their stories must have been very moving. Is there something that you want us to take away from this film that you learned through their story?
It's hard to pick just one thing because it definitely was a life-changing experience spending time with these people. So I'm going to say there's two things. One is it changed my perspective on our time with elders. We live in a culture that celebrates youth culture almost to the extreme, and how important it is to bring elders into that conversation, to celebrate them. They have this incredible earned perspective and have so much to add to the conversation. And there's one of the veterans who I just spoke about, Arlister Brown, who was in the segregated military, came back to be a teacher and then become a civil rights leader and then become a minister. And he says something in the film. He says, we just don't have enough love. We don't have enough love for humanity. And I think in our current, like you said at the beginning of the podcast, we live in a very divided time right now, and we don't have enough love for humanity.
Absolutely. And somehow, and without making this political, but somehow veterans and have become politicized and are used across the aisle. And that's not your intention of the film. The film is not to politicize their stories or make you feel anything. It's really to show their story and what they did to fight for the democracy that is what we use here in this country. Was that intentional?
I mean, it's really our goal going into this was to share their stories in the most emotional, subjective, cinematic way. So it felt like you could put yourself in their shoes and feel what they had experienced and have a window into their point of view. And I think we accomplished that.
Wow. We put so much focus, including me. I bring up Beyonce, but we put so much focus on celebrity culture in this country, and there are everyday celebrity heroes have done the most heroic things walking around amongst us. And your film gives them their moment to share their story in front of an audience. It must be how do you wrap your head around the idea that they got the chance, you gave them the chance to tell their story?
It just seems like, this out of all the things that I've been able to work on and the experiences that I've had, this seemed to be the most important and the most moving. And we've screened the film just in private screenings for the veterans, and to see how it moves people emotionally is that's the biggest reward of my career so far, is to see how this film functions on an emotional level.
I saw in your notes that go along with the press release for your film and all the information that's available through Tribeca that you talk about this generation is the generation that fought in this war are not, they don't make them like they used to make them anymore. Many, the great generation, the greatest generation, these people who have left their families and fought. As a teacher, I mean, I'm still teaching about this generation. We did Hidden Figures in my 6th grade class, and they're talking about the men went to war and these women stepped up and everybody was a part of the process. Um, do you still see that when you spend time with them? They're probably still tough as nails,
Oof.
and they have more fortitude and courage than many of us can ever have.
Absolutely. And I think, the humility, the grit, the sense of service and community, like these are all qualities that I hope to adopt into my own life. And also a sense of humor. I'd say if there's one thing that is ubiquitous across all of the veterans that we met, it's that they all just have this incredible sense of humor and positivity. Like the youngest one that we worked with was 99.
Oh my God.
The oldest was 104. And they're all just so funny and so cool to hang out with.
Well, I made it halfway through the film only because I had to go to work this morning. Otherwise, I would have been engulfed in this because it is such a beautiful film. It is an incredible story, and I'm telling you, when you get the chance to check it out as a feature, there's not gonna be a dry eye on the boat, in the theater, in the house, wherever you're gonna check this film out. You're gonna sob. It is absolutely stunning. So, as a filmmaker perspective, what was your crew like? I mean, you're now witness. It's a documentary, so you're now just a fly on the wall of their experience returning. So, what was your approach to fly over there and spend time, and the line between their privacy and you making a good movie? Like, you have to walk a tightrope here.
Yes. And I'd say that there were a lot of the events that happened over there. We were this kind of fly on the wall. I have a very tight, small crew that I've been working with for a decade. So we have our own shorthand. And then what we focused on with the veterans in Normandy was, there was, for each veteran, there seemed to be one defining moment or memory that that really shaped the person they became. And we whittled that down to these different moments, and kind of created, for example, George Mullins, who was in the 101st Airborne, had a harrowing experience during the battle at Carentan, where he lost 43 out of the 45 people in his unit, and essentially like saw God. And we at this cathedral, and we found the cathedral, brought him back there, and filmed this moment with him, but filmed it in a way that was more emotional than it was verite. And because of that, it's like you're on this journey with him. You're in his memory. You're feeling that moment in a heightened cinematic space. And you talk about the score. We worked with Hans Zimmer and Christian Lundberg of Bleeding Fingers, and that has so much to do with elevating those experiences as well. Is how do you create that space emotionally?
Well, it's sweeping. The music is sweeping. It's a whole character of this film. And not that your filmmaking and storytelling needs help, but let me tell you, this takes it to another. And can Hans Zimmer share an Oscar nomination with somebody? I mean, man, he's gonna have to take them all. Everyone, a legend, truly a legend. What was it like to reach out to him? How did you get him to say, "Okay, I'll lend my talent to this film"?
Well, that's a funny story because, again, Drake Springer, one of the producers on the film, early on was like, we should get Hans Zimmer. And of course I was like, yeah, that would be great, but like this is like a small documentary, and I think he's actually working on Dune 2. So, but we made the ask. We wrote a letter, and his studio manager got back to us, I think on the same day. Capital yes, exclamation mark, capital yes, exclamation mark, capital yes. And I was like, what does this mean? It meant yes. So yeah. So they, what's that?
It meant yes, and he did it. They did it.
Yeah, they did it. So that was an incredible, it completely transformed the film.
So for you as a filmmaker, and you can see your bio and all the information will be listed below us, and the shorts and the features and all the people that you've gotten to work with and everything, what can we do, even if we're not in the New York area? What is the future for this film that we can support films like this? I love documentaries, and I love documentaries that are unique and tell a story that we may not have heard in a new way. So what can the average person around the country do to support this film in particular?
Well, this film in particular, we'll figure out what our distribution channel will be. I know because of our partnership with Delta, it will be on every Delta flight eventually. I don't know when, but it will be. And I think that they have millions of eyeballs strapped into seats every month. So that's very exciting. But I think the idea is that we will partner with a streamer, and so that'll be available.
So we could stay up to date with you, or we could stay up to date with the studio and figure out when and where and how. Is there a way that that we could do that? Follow you on social media, follow the studio on social media?
Both, either following Delta, following me on social media. Yeah, that would work.
And it will all be below us where you're watching or listening absolutely right now. So do you have an outfit? Are you ready for this Tribeca moment?
Barely. I have a 5 so that's kind of a distraction, but I'll get it together.
I know you'll get it together. And are you somebody who, now that this is out and it will have its life and it will be premiere and then it will have its life on planes and television screens and movie theaters everywhere, do you always have something up your sleeve, or do you take a break in between projects? How do you work as a filmmaker?
In an ideal world, you pick up on another project right away, and I'm fortunate enough to have 2 other projects underway right now. Yeah.
So we got to stay up to date because we need to know what's next, because this is so stunning and so gorgeous. I can't wait to see what stories you tell next, and get the privilege and pleasure to be able to check them out and see them.
Thank you. That means so much. Thank you.
Well, I'll be watching tonight. I'll be finishing it tonight, but everybody else can be watching on June 6th if you get your tickets and go to the Intrepid. I need to visit, Meredith. I need to put.
Yeah. Will you be at the Intrepid?
I'm in Detroit for the rest of the month.
Ah, okay.
But my cousin, who co-hosts the show with me, and her husband will be at the Intrepid. We got our tickets already. They signed up the second they can. They are historians about World War culture, and they're going to be. They were like, yes, we need to be there. We have to be there. Tell us when we can get a ticket. So get a ticket, because I know a lot of people are really looking forward to this as the highlight of the festival for them.
Lovely.
Such a joy. Such a joy to talk to you. Congratulations.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. It's absolutely my pleasure.